Yes, it is time. This is something I really honestly should have done a long, long time ago, but since the final climax of Night of all time is happening in exactly 8 days from now, I figured that I should do what all my forefathers did and create a tier list, okay? However, there are a few things that prevented me from ever making a tier list until now, and because I'm such a well-known yapper, I might as well talk about a few of those things real quick. First things first, I actually did an early version of a tier list. I was going to make 1 hour plus videos regarding multiple tiers. However, I did a 2 hour recording and my mic was actually broken. For those of you who have not noticed, I've been using my phone as a mic for the last about almost a year at this point. I think 6 plus months. Anyway, I've been using my mic as a phone since then. But the very first time I made the video, I plugged in my original mic. I thought it was working, and I recorded 2 hours of video of me doing a tier list. And after realizing that the video was not saved whatsoever, I got omega sad, and I just could not bring myself to redo the video. I'm here now because I figured that holy crud, it's only a week till climax, and I have not made any multiplayer videos this month at all. I'm still working on the script for the other one, so I could do the script for one of them tomorrow morning, maybe, and then I can work on this today, because this is slightly less effort than reviewing a TMNS or some shit like that, okay? So that was one of the reasons that I've not done a tier list till now. One of the other reasons I didn't do a tier list was because I do not know every single character in the game. I get omega tight when people be saying untrue facts about my, well, not untrue facts, you know what I mean, when they be spreading lies about my character. And like, of course, if you make a tier list, you gotta actually, assume that you know a bunch of stuff about a character that even you just might not know, frankly. And I kind of didn't want to do that for the longest time. I really only made the first draft of this tier list video thing because Zay said he thought he wanted to listen to it. And I was like, sure, I do it for our homie. And it's a content idea anyway, so that was the original plan for the whole tier list shit. But we're here now, and I'm about to make a multi-blood tier list, so let us establish the ground rules. About 2 minutes into this video, I think. Yeah. So first things first, this is my opinion. It is important to reiterate that multiple times, but I'm just going to do it all here. As I'm a human, I have not played all of these characters. I'm really only knowledgeable about H-Kkohaku and how characters interact with that character specifically. If you were to put a gun to my head and be like, yo, do you really believe in this tier list? I would be like, no, because I have not played most of these characters at all. I've played 3 of them, and I've only played one of them at a competent level. So just be aware that this is a H-Kkohaku player talking, and my character's biases and what she's bad and good at will give me different views on how strong a character is. Okay? Second thing we need to acknowledge is the fact that I'm going to be tiering characters in like a first to 4 or 5, not first to 2. There are some characters that would jump up. I mean, I guess you could argue there are some characters that jump up a lot if we are talking about characters that are very explosive and not consistent. Like, there are some characters that are way better at winning brackets than they are at winning long sets. Like Koma, for example, is a character that excels at winning brackets. But like, whenever those types of characters pop up, I'm just going to mention that as an ability they have, but it's not like explosiveness is not going to be really taken into account on this tier list. It's mostly going to be favoring consistency over raw explosiveness in this tier list. Okay, so just reiterating that this is my opinion, and for this tier list specifically, I'm valuing consistency. So like first to 3, first to 4, not just raw explosiveness, because if we do raw explosiveness, a lot of characters jump up a lot, like Koma, H-Kkohaku, and Sisei. Like, it's not that. We're focusing on consistency. Okay? And with all that in mind, let us do the first act of the tier list, which is making this a god tier. To me, characters in the god tier... Oh, I should say this before I start explaining what tiers mean. The definition of tiers is going to change depending on what I say they are. Okay, so like I'm gonna explain to you what makes me believe a character is an actual tiers difference worth of a, difference in terms of a tier list. There is also a thing that I'm going to do this till I can't be asked. If I get to a point where there's two characters that I do not care enough about to distinguish one as being better, I'm just gonna end the video. That way this video doesn't take 5 hours and it only takes an hour and a half as opposed to like 5. Okay, so with all of that, now let's talk about God tier. To me, also, wait. One more thing. I wanted to do this as a joke, but I guess I might as well do it now. I have proof that I can make a video, and it is. I brought my mic with me because I really wanted to do this as a fucking joke, but I didn't. I was like really considering not doing it, but like here is my second place finish at Frosty's Faustings. If you have complaints about where I put your character on the tier list, you can get first at Frosty Faustings in order to prove me wrong. Now that all the jokes are completely out of the way and we can actually start talking about character strength, I'm going to start explaining the God tier as I put my stuff back and hopefully don't fall any of the rewards in this trophy case, okay? So to me, God tier characters are characters that have extremely easy ways to win in neutral while also being able to play defense relatively well and have decent block string offense. Like, to me, there are 4 phases of the game. There's neutral, there is pressure, which is block string offense, there's Oki, which is wake up offense, and then there's defense. Okay, so there are 4 phases of the game. To me, characters in God tier have to be obscenely strong in neutral and either Oki or block string offense, and then they can be at least decent in every other scenario. Okay, like, of course all these characters have weaknesses, at least in comparison to their overwhelming strengths, but to me God tiers are hyper consistent and hyper strong primarily in neutral and either an Oki or in pressure. Okay, so first things first, who do I believe is the strongest character in Melty Blood? To literally no one's surprise, I believe that to be Siroa. I am aware of Siroa having a bunch of quirks in his gameplay that makes him slightly annoying. Like, it is not as easy as people will have you to believe to set up 3 orbs and just auto win the game from neutral. But the fact that he has that overwhelming threat behind him at all times, that I think that makes him relatively strong, at least stronger than any other character in the game. His DP is bad, but the fact that he has a DP at all, it makes his defense surprisingly not shit. His buttons are all mid. Like, his normal buttons are not anything impressive, but 2C is actually, I want to say it's a strong button. I don't play Roa though, so there's probably more cases where it's mid than it's strong, but to me personally, when it comes to buttons I value, I think Roa's 2C is a relatively strong sweep. His throw game, his just regular throw game is pretty good. He doesn't get like a blink off of it for most characters, but he gets like a nice 50-50 don't tech here thing that he does a lot. Again, I don't play Zero, so I'm not super duper informed on all of his quirks, but to me, I think saying Zero is top 1 is one of those statements that is relatively non-controversial. You could argue that there are some other characters that are top 1, but I don't think there's a single person on this planet that would argue that he is not God tier, at least. To me, the thing that pushes Siroa ahead of the other characters in this tier is simply just how hard he wins in neutral if he ever gets to do his thing, which is air unblockable charged orbs. Like, yeah, he doesn't get to do them for free, but if he ever gets the chance to do them, you are in extreme disadvantage, and it pretty much gives him like a GG I win button versus 33% of the cast, which is all H-moons. I don't think the fact that his plus 24 charge orbs kind of just fucking smoke H-moon and he gets to do uninteractable pressure if he has meter versus an H-moon is one of those things that should be ignored. Like, yeah, there is counterplay, which is just not going under 80 meter at all versus Siroa unless you really got a death wish. But I think the fact that he matches up so well into most of the lower tiers and has a really strong win condition that he accesses from neutral in all states is like makes him far and away the best character in the game. Like, I'm gonna talk a little bit about his weaknesses, I guess. I'll give each and every single character a mini overview of my thoughts of them for those of you who actually care. So this tier list video is more than just me putting characters in order. When it comes to roll up weaknesses, I kind of roll my eyes whenever they get mentioned. But again, his DP is very very bad. I think it's only active. It's only invul to like frame 6 or some shit, and it's a multi-hit DP that's not exactly impressive. All the other hits are air blockable. The first hit is air unblockable, but the first hit's kind of small. But in regards to like things that actually make it, like the fact that it's frame 4 and it doesn't have a lot of invul actually means that it kind of gets randomly smoked by like a lot of projectile Oki. Like even if you get hit by the DP, he tends to still lose. And the fact that it's frame 4 means that you can OS it with command grabs if you're playing a character like H-Kkohaku or a character that uses X14 as their command grab special move. So like his DP is really really meh, and his heat is not the auto one button that people pretend it to be. You do always have to be aware that you have to tech full screen heats because you shouldn't be getting you shouldn't be getting wall slammed by them. I still fuck it up all the time because I'm just bad at the timing, but like he's not super duper free, but his highs are really really high and he reaches them really frequently. So I think he deserves this top 1 spot. Now when it comes to second place, this is a lot more competitive, spot. Like people will put F Hime, F Faki. Where is F Faki in this tier list? Okay, F Hime, F Faki, C Arc, H-Kkohaku. Let's put her up here. C and F Narrow. And we're going to just go through them in order of who I believe to be second place, and then I'm going to argue to place the rest of these characters between either God tier, S tier. Okay, so for me, second place is going to be F Hime, because again this tier list values consistency, and it comes to consistency in neutral. F Hime's got everybody in the cast beat by like miles. Her walk speed is the best in the game and has no acceleration for whatever fucking reason, so she just gets to essentially zoom at very little cost, because unlike most other characters who zoom on the ground, they have to at least dash or backdash. This character gets to do that for free and does it by just walking, which is way less committal than moving with jumps and whatever. So her ground movement is both the most uncommittal in the game and flat out the best. She has a humongous DP that is air unblockable pretty much the entire way through. I don't know if the final hit is air unblockable. I assume it is because like 99% of it is, but if it's not, whatever. She has a great DP. She has a good 5B. Like the 5B is not 100% like the best button in the world, but it's both big and fast, and it hits at a decent-ish angle, so it's a pretty decent anti-air or like jump catcher. Like, and she also has Geyser. You cannot forget about how stupid Geyser is as a button that people can press in neutral. It needs to be blocked low, but it has to be shielded high. Whoever thought that was a fucking idiot. Oh man, I'm not gonna be able to make video. Wait. I like Masego, but I don't want to get copyrighted. Anyway, what was I saying? Right, I was saying something about her 5B, and I think I was talking about her anti-air game. Whatever, I'll just go back to 5B. 5B's whole thing is that like it's big and it catches. Oh wait, I was talking about Geyser. My bad. Right, Geyser needs to be blocked low, shielded high. It's not really punishable at all unless you are Kohaku. Kohaku is literally the only character that can consistently punish it, other than maybe Narrow with 4C. Like Kawaku punishes it even if she fight cancels it with 2C, because the fight startup still gets clipped by the elevated hitbox of 2C. But I don't know if Narrow consistently punishes it. FP has pretty destructive matchups into like 90% of the cast, and one of those characters that she has a good matchup into is theoretically Narrow. I say theoretically because the last time I saw Hime put the beat down on a fucking Narrow was like some random Hime beating Lucky Star star in like 2015 VODs. I have not seen that many Himeis because Hime kind of got an issue where the people who would play a character like Hime would not be playing Melty Blood Actress Again Current Code. That she's a very grounded, consistent character that kind of test your decision making skills on the ground, and that's not a skill set that a lot of multiplayers have, and the ones that do have it don't really like playing her because she kind of doesn't do some of the fun things that a lot of the other characters in the cast do. So she's kind of like this character that has really high potential. I don't think anyone ever argues her to be the best in the game because while she does have really strong Oki and decent block swing pressure, her 2C res is pretty much memed up in the community for being the red light, green light sort of game where she just gets to pull up with you with dash 2C, dash 2C, dash 2C all over again. And her throw is pretty decent and she gets star Oki off of it. Like none of it is like super duper threatening, and she does have one major issue in which her health is low. It really needs to be low. Arguably you could say it's not low enough, but because of the fact that it's low and her jump is so slow to accelerate off the ground, she is very bad at jumping out of pressure, which means that her defense can be kind of cheeks. That's why they gave her the fully air unblockable DP, sort of like a trade-off. You can't run all the Oki you'd like to run on her because of her wake up hitbox. Her wake up collision is super high for some reason, so you can't air dash over her to do like cross up mix as easily as you'd like. So she has some sort of like resistance to that there, but for most part her defense is really bad. Anytime I play versus a Hime player on H-Kkohaku, this is a anecdote. This is anecdotal things. They always be like, "Are you sure this matchup is bad?" Because I get grabbed and I get fucking pwned by you doing optimal combos, and like, yeah, I kind of get it because like if you're not like super duper uber consistent at Hime, you're going to run into that issue a lot more. But when I versus JG and when he was like way better than me at the game, I kind of just didn't get to play the game. But maybe that was the issue of me being bad. I don't know. But for the most part, I think F Hime is like the most consistent you can get in this game. Like you could argue Roa to be even more consistent, and I do. That's why he's number one. But F Hime is very much a close number two. Now for number three, she's actually going to be the last character I would put in God tier. Everything else goes into S plus. I might make it S. I might make it S plus. I might keep it as S. We will see how I feel in a couple of minutes because still need to mentally figure out what I'm going to do with the A and B tiers. But for me, F Akia is the only other character that is super duper consistent. Kinda, because the thing with the F Yakia is that you either win super hard on this character or you lose super hard because her HP is like, I think, just flat out the worst. It's worse than Nax, I think, because Nax has a weird HP percentage, I think from 50 to 25%, where his HP is really high for that very specific part of his life bar, which is really fucking annoying. So the idea with Nax, if you want to like kill him, is that you leave him at like 53% of his HP left, and then you do a combo or a big hit that deals a fuck ton of damage, so you get to chunk through as much of his 50 to 25 as possible. Whatever. F Byakuya doesn't have any bullshit like that in her guts. They're just relatively low all around, so she eats fuck ton of damage. F Byakuya is actually the only character in this game that gets 2-touched by H-Kkohaku on throw. Like if you throw her and you throw her again, she dies. She has that little HP. However, she also does the most amount of damage on like average compared to like literally any other character. She has the best neutral theoretically of any other character, and she also has a theoretical infinite. Like if there are characters that could be called potential man, Afiakia is theoretical woman because like she's like theoretically hyper diaper broken, but like the executional requirements and like the consistency in neutral you'd have to have in order to make these strengths really manifest themselves in your play is really hard. So we have not really seen a super top tier Efiakia player. I mean, personally, There's shit that is strong on her that is not just like the super hard stuff. For example, she has the best dash 5A in the game, really, because her dash is really, really fast. Her 5A is relatively tall. So even compared to characters like C Arc and C Sats, her dash 5A is like stupidly good at catching people who are trying to jump out of your pressure or trying to play neutral at all versus you. Her movement in general is just really good with the fact that she has two air dashes, and unlike C Alco, who has like really really short air dashes, her air dashes are like normal size and go the normal distance. So, and they're both relatively fast too. So she's really really hard to pin. Her like just to pin her landings at all is difficult. She's hard to like. She's hard to catch in neutral, and she has a easier time with punishing compared to most characters because she can easily feint out her movement with the second air dash. Like literally, the only thing holding this character back from being better than these two is the fact that she's so inherently inconsistent. She has a DP, but the DP is not really all that. Not even the EX version is all that. Although if she does land the EX DP, she gets a full combo into Oki, which is impressive. But like compared to the other two who don't get that, that's something to her name. But again, that DP is, you could argue it to be worse than Roa's. I would personally like. It doesn't have the lack of invincibility issue as much as Roa, but that DP is just not amazing. But I think personally, just because of how good she is in neutral and just how much damage she deals and how easy it is for her to just deal that damage with her jump 236 puffball. Like puffball is such a broken special move both in neutral and on pressure, and Oki yeah. I think F Yakio very clearly deserves the third place. Next, we're going to talk about the rest of top 5. I actually forgot a character in this list. It is C Stats. I know someone was probably complaining about that, but let's go into S plus tier, I think I'm going to call it, because to me S plus tier is characters that are on the cusp of being gods, but they have like very small hiccups that prevent them from being such. Like these characters are still heads above the rest of the cast and are super duper annoying to deal with, but they have like a flaw or two that prevent them from being unmanageable for the rest of the cast. Like I think that fits these 5 characters really well, and I'm going to add like probably like 3 or 4 more characters into S plus before the end of this section is done. To me, 4th best character in the game is C Arc, and C Arc is one of those characters you could argue to be either here or here. The only other competitor to C Arc would be H-Kkohaku, but I have the personal opinion that this is not really a competition. I think C Arc is just flat out better than H-Kkohaku 99% of the times. The big thing to me in this part of the in regards to whether she's 4th or 5th is to me that C Arc has both a 2-2 DP. Like the main reason people will argue that H-Kkohaku is just as good is because H-Kkohaku has a 4-frame jab and is a C-moon. So for those of you who don't know, when you do EX shield in this game, if you EX shield into a normal, you are +4 uninteractably. So if you have something that's 4 frames or faster, you can EX shield into that special or button and your opponent cannot do anything about it. There's literally no counterplay. If your button is 5 frames or slower, the opponent can hold up and maybe block. Typically, there's very little counterplay whatsoever. If you get hit if you hit into an EX shield and they decide to mash, but usually if you hold up, you don't get counter hit, which is the big thing. But by having a 4-frame jab, you get to always get that shield 5A or shield 2A and get a counter hit starter off of the jab. And Kohaku's conversions off of a counter hit air combo, even after shield's proration is accounted for, is really really high. It's like 3.5k or something. It's high relatively compared to most of the what other Siemens are getting, because she's always can guarantee that counter hit after her EX shield. But to me, I think C Arc's better movement and her defensive capabilities make her generally just better. Like C Arc has a dive, she literally has everything you'd ever need in Melty Blood. She has a dive kick She has a projectile in Sonic. Yeah, I know Sonic's not technically a projectile, but that shit's so big and so disjointed that it might as well be a projectile, if we're being honest. It's not the typical, like, fireball. Like, yeah, Sea doesn't have a fireball, but neither does H-Kkohaku. So, like, come on, man. Like, well, I guess you could count Johnny as being a fireball, but I don't. I don't really do that. But anyway, Sea has the 2-2 DP. People really overblow how much impact her TDP being 2-2 really is in a set. I mean, honestly, I don't really feel the fact that it's a 2-2 being super annoying most of the time. I mean, this might be a guy who is decent at the game, does not run into issues that would make 2-2 being a 2-2 input smoke you super often. But I feel like 2-2 DPs are actually a fine thing in this game generally. They're not like super duper broken. And while hers is easily the best 2-2 DP in the game, it's not like super broken. The fact that she has a DP that's decent and always converts into an air throw that reverses and steals the corner from you is good and strong. But to me, it would still be just as strong if it was on 63, if that makes sense. Let's not talk about that. Her pressure is like the best in the game. Her neutral is really, really good. Her dash is a little slow, but it's fast enough. It has really low startup, so she's able to low commitly dash jump and scout with that. She has a really good JC. Her JC is probably one of the most busted buttons in the game, being 10 frames active and pretty damn disjointed. For those of you who were not aware, F-Kkohaku and H-Kkohaku's JC is just as disjointed as C-Arc's JC. That's one of those things that you don't know until you like look at it and you're like, whoa, that shit's disjointed. Okay, so her JC super disjointed, active. Like the fact that her buttons are all super active and she has so many tools, all of them being pretty damn good, is just everything for this character. And all the thing that ties it all together is her 5B being a spike in this game, because it essentially allows her to have obscene conversions off of everywhere on the screen, even on regular like jump catches. Like when a character 5A 5Bs you in Melty Blood, typically it is no big deal. You typically just get 5A 5B'd into air combo. But C-Arc, she will 5A 5B you to the grave. She will drag you down, deal like 4.5k, and then you are dealing with some Oki. And even if you block the Oki, C-Arc's block string pressure is pretty damn good because you're in the corner. Pretty much every single one of C-Arc's optimal combo. Every single one of C-Arc's optimals leaves you in the corner with some Oki. She has really good resetting tools in both Sonic 214 and like her poke tools and her defensive tools in both 2B, J2B, and like JC are really, really good. She's very good at claiming space. She's very good at moving and changing where she is at any particular point. I don't think there's like a universe where you could argue that this character is not like top 5, and her consistency to me is what gives her top 4 on this list. Now, for 5th place, it's a very close COA tie between these 3 C-Moons to me. But to me, I think that C-Kkohaku just narrowly beats out C-Nero, which is very high praise to C-Kkohaku. But like, and the thing about C-Kkohaku and C-Arc is that these two are like risk-reward monsters. Like their neutral is like honest in the fact that their buttons can lose. There's counterplay to their buttons, but they have so many tools in every single part of neutral and the fact that if they ever counter hit you at all, they get full corner to corner carry and Oki every single time and decent block string pressure is just what makes them so high up to me. Like you could definitely argue that C-Nero could be like 4th or 5th, but he's just less consistent generally than these two, especially since these two have like half decent defensive options. I kind of cringe and throw up in my mouth calling a Kohaku's defensive options half decent, but EX Shield 2A 5A is really, really, really strong. And unlike a lot of other C-Moons who have poor options when they get regular shield, C-Kkohaku has a 4-frame command throw, which abides by the 4-frame rule that I mentioned earlier, meaning that if she And because her command throw is not, her heart box for the command throw is elevated, that means she can grab green from characters who are a mile away that are still poking with a bit of their green. Even if they're poking their green from high up the ground, as long as you're on the ground, the 4-frame command rule means that she can command throw you from whatever you're doing, even if you thud into her normal shield. So H-Kkohaku has a better shield than most Sea Moons. She has extremely high damage, probably some of the highest in the game, if not just the highest. That's not H-Kkohaku. She has extremely good 2-2 series, with both 2-2B being a consistent tool that locks down people on defense. Not on defense, on offense. Bleh. She has a powerful fuzzy. I think characters having a fuzzy in this game is one of those things that makes them way stronger than they should be. To me, characters with fuzzies are like, that's like the strongest sort of offense you could get in this game. Like, I mean, I guess the strongest offense would be a projectile into a fuzzy, right? But I don't think there's a single character that has that, other than a character that we'll be talking about very soon, but even she doesn't really do that in the way that I'm thinking of. Like, the fact that she has Mr. Medicine that leads into a fuzzy. She has Johnny, which is like, I don't really think Johnny's all that great, but there are some setups for it. She has the theoretical to a fuzzy, which no one's ever cracked yet, and nobody will probably ever do. Like, this character has stronger offense than C Arc, but I think her neutral is what's holding her back from being like 4th place, in my personal opinion. H-Kkohaku movement in general is like really bad. The fact that she doesn't move for the first 7 frames of her dash, and she doesn't move on frame 1 of her walk, a thing that every other character does minus Hisui, is really damning in regards to H-Kkohaku being 4th place, because she just finds it really hard to space her amazing buttons. Like, on H-Kkohaku, it's not as big a deal because her buttons are so amazing and the reward on hit is so good that she can afford to like fuck up a few times. Like, her health is like super average too. It's like ever so slightly above average. I think she has 8th or 9th or 7th best HP in the game. So like, it's not HP so high that it starts skewing interactions like we're going to talk about in C Nero's case, and I guess C Arc's case as well. She also has HP so high it starts skewing shit. But her HP is good. Her buttons are pretty damn good. But like her ability to place those buttons in neutral is kind of not good because of her dash. He lacks a way to mix up her intent in an air dash. Like, a lot of characters have like either dive kicks or some air special that stalls them a lot while not being like super committal. She lacks that, so it's kind of easy to shield her descent sometimes. Assuming you're not playing H-Man, of course, but yeah, this character's super duper strong, but the thing is that she's like super high up here because she just risk rewards like gaps like most of S+ tier. Like, these two, you could argue them to be gods, but I think they're neutral, being like interactable generally without having to go through a whole bunch of extra steps means that they shouldn't be in that tier and should instead be in this tier. Next character we're going to talk about is C-Sats. To me, you could argue that C Nero is better than C-Sats because both of these characters are super duper polarized. So you could definitely, like, on a different mood, decide that one of them is better than the other. To me, I think C-Sats is generally better than C Nero, but like C Nero has a really good claim to fame for the 6th place spot in this tier list. C Nero, his thing is that he wins from neutral a lot with his summons, but because of that, he trades away his ability to dash at all. So his ground movement, C Nero's, is like really bad, but he has broken buttons to make up for it, and he has some of the grimiest set play in the game with a whole bunch of summons and shit that are very good at locking you down. C Satsuki's thing is that her neutral is not good because she cannot whiff air buttons all that well. However, she's very good at cannonballing at you, and if you get hit by one of her cannonballs, well, I'm calling it cannonballing for a reason, you just die, because she has Sanduri offense in this game, which is pretty much the only offense in this game that I think is as strong as fuzzies. Like, to me, when it comes to offense in this game, it's like fuzzies, Sanduri on like C-Sats, and then Projectile Oki is 3rd. And the best Projectile Oki in this game is probably going to reside in S or the very bottom of S+ tier. But we're going a little bit too far ahead. Let's go back to what we are talking about right now, which is just C Satsuki. Her thing is that her ground neutral is pretty damn good. I'd say like she does have issues in regards to her dash being very bad. Like her dash is like you could argue it to be worse than H-Kkohaku's, which is a pretty low bar. The fact that she manages to slide under is not good. But she has super again. When I say slide under, it's kind of a joke because she has really good slides and low profile on a lot of her ground moves, and her ground moves have the most obscene combo ability in my life. The fact that she gets a lot of OTG pickups for 100 meter that usually gets refunded to her as she finishes her combo is obscene. This character has really, really high damage potential. Both of these characters win from like ever so slightly different win conditions based on your mood and what you are valuing on a tier list. You could definitely put either of them in 6 or 7, but since this tier list is valuing consistency, I think I'm going to put C Narrow here. Like, the thing is, actually no, I'm going to put C Sass here because the thing to me that makes her ever so slightly better than C Narrow is that her defense is just obscene. She has a 4-frame jab, I believe. I think, bro, I keep getting copyrighted songs. I would love to listen to these songs, but I cannot afford to do that right now. I would like to not have to deal with a YouTube copyright. Come on, I put a Deltarune playlist so I wouldn't have to deal with this. Like, brother. Anyway. What was I talking about? Right. See Satsuki's defensive utility generally with both a 4-frame jab and EX shield. She has better specials to press and defense. She has an amazing 2-2 series. 2-2A and 2-2B are both really strong defensive tools, along with the fact that she has 3-meter specials that are all sort of pseudo reversals that are difficult to deal with if you are not aware and prepared for them. Like, this character, C Satsuki, is probably one of the best characters in this game at turning defense into offense into you seeing the lose screen. If you are not super prepared for the toolbox this character has on defense, you will just find yourself smoked. And even if you are prepared for it, you're usually giving her spots that she can jump out and start going back to neutral and fishing for that one hit that will end your life, right? C Nero, his defense is it's not amazing. He has EX Paranga, but it is 150 meter. And while he does generate a lot of meter, he does not really like using it on Paranga. His EX shield options are kind of meh. Like, his EX2A is decent, but it's 6 frames as opposed to it's 6 frames as opposed to the general 5 frames, so it's a lot easier to up back his shield on reaction and only get regular hit as opposed to counter hit. Because it is a multi-hit, you don't usually get super broken single hit air confirms when you do EX shield button. Like his regular shield is much weaker than EX shield. Like, there are some characters that just don't have anything to press off of regular shield other than to shield again, and the first character that this really applies to on this list is going to be C Nero. Like, these the 4 Siemens above him all have shit they can do off of regular non-EX shield. This one does it, and it really hurts his defensive ability to do such. The fact that he's so tall also means that he's more prone to fuzzies and other sort of disgusting offense that can be propped up in this game too. And yeah, I think that all of those like weaknesses in defense just kind of take a hit to his consistency in a way that makes C Satsuki a better character than him generally. But these two are so close that you could really swap any of them any day of the week. Now, F Nero is a character that is very close to the C Nero. I think in regards to the moon system, if you were to like completely ignore the rest of the tier list, I think he's probably the best case of like a C and F moon being super close to each other design wise in regards to power. I mean, you could take it as a really good act of balancing, but they're both super duper broken and annoying, so you could also take it as a bad act of balancing. I don't really care how you'd like to disguise or discuss it, but like, you could argue that F Nero is above C Nero because his defensive mechanics his system mechanics are interesting to say the least. I don't think I've talked about it yet in this video, but F moons have no landing lag when they land with a button, as opposed to other moons having to go through 2 frames of landing lag whenever they land with an attack. If they only get to not do that landing lag if they just jump and they don't air dash. Like if they end on the air dash, it's 15 frames of landing lag universally, regardless of moon. If you jump and press a button, you get 2 frames generally, unless you like UJA and jump. I'm not gonna go into super duper depth about system mechanics, but the fact that 2 frames usually ends up mattering a lot on F Nero because it means that his JB, which is already a super duper broken, hyper consistent normal, gets even broken because it can now start beating shield even on its first hit, I believe, or is it the second hit? I forget exactly how the F Moon mechanics interact with JB, but I've been told, I felt that when you go versus F Nero, his JB is not just one of the best air buttons in the game. It pretty much just is the best air button in the game at all. F Nero JB is literally strong enough to probably prop up a whole bunch of other characters to like at least S or A tier, just off of if they just had that normal. Even with all of its faults, I put that in quotation marks, F Nero JB is super duper strong, and that's not even all there is to the character, right? We have his amazing overhead that it beats Clash for whatever reason. I don't know why it beats Clash, but it does. We also have his shield. His shield is pretty much the highest. He gets the most damage off of shield counters in the game, I believe. I think the only character that can come close is H-Kkohaku, I believe. H-Kkohaku and C-Sats probably come the closest in regards to like damage off of shield, but he can spend his meter on EX Croc in order to do shield loops, which do a fuck ton of damage because the base damage of EX Croc is just super duper high. So even after the shield proration is taken into account, looping EX Croc just does a fuck ton of damage. However, his shield is a F Moon shield as opposed to a C Moon shield. So instead of like being forced to take that EX Croc damage, as you would have to be forced to take damage from a C or H-Kkohaku or C-Stats shield into bullshit, you can interact by just upbacking his shield counter if you're reacting or OSing. But the fact that he has that at all as a threat makes you really, really more aware. You have to use a lot more brain power versus F Nero because you cannot afford to be getting hit by 5k damage from shield into bullshit. That makes his defense not complete dog water. He also has EXBs, which are unarguably, to me personally, I think EXBs are better reversal most of the time compared to EX Paranga. It is pretty damn easy to get into to deal with EX Paranga on reaction. Even if you put yourself into a slightly suboptimal spot, it's way harder to deal with EXPs generally, as whenever it comes up, it's like if you hit into it and you trade, you lose the trade really hard and you take a lot of damage. So you are like kind of incentivized to like, it's not really easy to EX shield on reaction either, or like just shield at all generally because there's such a huge delay. Like F Nero's big thing to me is that generally, like his neutral summons are worse than C Nero's summons. Like the big thing with F Nero is that he has the meme of like Sludge on the ground and then JC in the air, but Sludge on the ground is kind of like not as strong as Deer on the ground with Snake. Snake and Deer on the ground is just generally more scarier and harder to deal with than Sludge. Like there are some smart ways to use a Sludge to be super annoying, but I don't think it's as consistent or as strong as Cinero. But it's only by a smidge. Again, you could argue that these two characters could be interchanged on this tier list, and I would not find it very silly of you to do so. So, like, yeah. Next set of characters I'm going to drag up now are going to be FPCL. This is going to contain one hot take here, and I think H-Len could go on this tier. Then there is the unhot take of... Oh, give me a second. Okay, I'm back. The unhot take of C Hisui being an S+. Then we gotta talk about a character I kind of didn't want to talk about, C Maids. What am I going to go back to? Alright, so we have the hot take, we have the consistent take, we have C Hisui, C Maids. We also need to put Spike Ball here, personally, because to me, we also could put, like, I guess, some of the borderline characters. This tier is going to be kind of big, but we're going to see how my opinion on these characters shakes out in a second. I'm just going through this tier this tier list to make sure I'm not missing anyone super duper important. See Scion. I think I grabbed most of the high-ish S plus candidates. I don't think I'm missing it. Oh, I almost missed Potential Woman. Or, I mean, the Potential Team. Yeah, okay. I think with that, that's everything. Oh, wait. Forgot Hime's exist. Like, see, this tier is huge. So, as you can tell, most of these characters are going to be moved down to S as opposed to just S plus. Only a few of these characters are going to keep the benefit of being kept in the S plus tier right under the gods. So let me go over the characters that do deserve that distinction. Okay. So first things first, FPCL and C say. We can also move Spikeball up here because there's no way in hell she's dropping down to S. Okay. FPCL, Cisse, and Spikeball are kind of the trio of characters that we all know to be super strong and relatively easy, but no one really plays. The only exception to this rule is that Smo is kind of nice on the sticks, and they play FPCL. No one really plays Cisse anymore. There was Rock, there was Cadenza, but no one super strong plays them anymore other than like People's Pockets. We used to have Jay, like 6 years ago, who played Spikeball. He was kind of running shit on Spikeball, but other than him, no one has picked up the mantle. And that's it. There's like no real results for these three characters as opposed to the top 6, 8 characters that I talked about. And while, yeah, I guess I could go over a whole bunch of Japanese results in order to have more informed take on these characters, I'm just going to tell you my thoughts and feelings, and I'm going to put FPCL here because I actually fight versus FPCLs as opposed to these two fuckers, okay? The fact that people actually play FPCL other than just Mo, there's Onion, there's Harmful, there's I'm forgetting the other 3 or so FPCLs in NA that exist. I'm very sorry for forgetting you guys. But I just remember Onion and Harmful when it comes to NA FPCLs. Oh, there's Chase's FPCL, not the best, but like it's still his. I mean, theirs is still pretty good and it exists. Any other FPCLs I'm forgetting? I think there was one more, but I can't remember. Anyway, FPCL has the most active players and actually has the most results of these three, I believe, in regards to NA. So I'm just going to put her here. Okay, her thing is that she essentially always full carries you into the corner and she wastes a lot of time. A lot of the time people just take the fact that she wastes time as one of those things that is just annoying, but to me, like 90% of her strength is the fact that every single knockdown is a same frame high low first off, which is why did she have that? And she pretty much nursed your ability to make a comeback because, like, of course, if you escape the knockdown and you escape, like, let's assume you don't get hit by the same frame high low, you don't get hit by her pressure, which is really long and it's kind of uninteractive. She just shaves a whole lot of time from the clock so that when you finally go back into neutral, you are at a huge disadvantage as opposed to like a regular character doing the same sort of BS, because most regular characters don't take anywhere nearly as long to do what they're doing as she does. I think FPCL is like the perfect timer scam character that is super high on this tier list. Her ability to just waste time and deal damage and having really strong offense is just really high up there. She actually has a bunch of decent neutral tools as well. Her 2B is pretty damn good. She has a strong 623A and 623B that are huge threats and neutrals that have to be dealt with. Her big weakness is her defense. She is like Hime, in which she has a non-standard jump. Her jump startup is, I think, longer than average. I think it's 6 frames startup as opposed to the usual 3. So +1 on the back jump. She also has I think her jump is like standardized despite that, because if I remember correctly, when she does jumps bullshit, like her jump height is still the same as if I hit a regular character with 22A on H-Kkohaku. So I think her jump startup is just, it's hyper focused on like the startup, and then the regular gravity is like fine and normal. I could be wrong. I don't remember if her jump height is lower than normal, but like, I'm gonna be real. If you remember jump heights in this game, you are a demon. I can't remember the fact that character has a different jump height for whatever godforsaken reason, and a different super jump. Why do characters have different super jump angles too? Okay, that's a completely different topic. Anyway, her defense is just not good. She has 63C, but that's not a real reversal, so you end up meeting it and you get an air counter hit a lot of the times, which is like free pickings for most of the cast. Her ability to play back from, like, to gain a lead is not good. She spends a lot of neutral kind of like fucking off in the full screen, and her ability to be zoned is like bad. She has really bad matchups into all the Narrows and Hime, and Zero also does a pretty decent matchup into her. From what I've understood, I've never seen it happen though, so like I don't know. Her matchups versus the other S plus and God tiers is not good, but she just has really strong strengths, even though her matchup spread is kind of a pita. Now Cisse, consistency wise, she should be here. The only reason I'm not putting her here is because I've literally never seen her get played seriously at all. Like, if I saw a singular person in my timeline ever pick her and do shit on her, I would put her here because I know what she should be able to do, but I'm not just going to put her there because, like, I literally don't know. Like, theoretically, Cisse is, like, easily, like, tailing these three monsters of Sats, Narrow, and F Narrow right here. But like it's just not been done, man. She has Pillar, which is air unblockable, really strong. She has the most easiest BMB into Condom Oki to ever exist. She's just good. Like, she has really strong. She has command throw, which is big. She has, I think, a fuzzy with her EX pillar. I don't exactly remember if it's a fuzzy or not, or just the same frame high low. Again, nobody plays this character, and the people who do aren't good enough that you have to actually understand how their offense is working to beat them. So like, I don't know. Like, again, I guess I'll just put her here because even I admit that she has stronger and more consistent neutral than FPCL, but like, it really feels like she should be here or even here, but like, she should be here. I just don't know why she's not. I don't know why nobody picks her, and the people who do, even when I'm watching JP gameplay, aren't like super duper performing on her. So it's weird. She has everything. She's got the Kondomoki. She has really strong neutral. She has ribbon. She has pillar. I just don't. I don't know. She has Sokane. I really do not understand why this character is both underplayed and underperforms. I think it's just because her dash is super weird as opposed to the regular dashes you see in Melty Blood, and the characters above her are just so much more consistent. I guess I don't know. It's weird. Cisse is just a weird character, and I think that kind of like fully explains my thoughts on her generally. Next character is Spikeball. Spikeball is what if we what Spikeball is a funny character. Consistency is the name of the game of this tier list, so I'm not generally going to be kind to characters that BS their ways through interactions. Okay, let's not. That song's also copyrighted. Let me skip that, and hopefully, okay. What was I saying? Right, consistency. This tier list is based on consistency, so normally in order to get high on this tier list, you either have to be consistent enough to neutral and have a strong enough offense, whether it be in block string or on wake up, to get high on the tier list, or you have to bullshit your way through neutral so effectively that even I have to give it up and give you S plus at least. Spikeball, and in my personal opinion, H-Len, they definitely deserve S plus. Like, H-Len used to be a character that used to be sitting around S or the equivalent of S on most tier lists. I think in the recent like 2 years, I think she's just gotten, the people's opinion on her has just improved like a lot. I'm gonna talk about her in like 10 minutes though, because I want to talk about Spikeball first. 2-2A Spikeball is a air unblockable assist move that is just the flat out best 2-2x in the game. I think I really can't think of anything better. If you are to put a gun to my head, you could argue that H-Kkohaku 2-2 series is like super duper strong, but that's like, it's strong in one area as opposed to Spikeball, which is super strong in like 10. Spike Ball, also known as H-Kkohaku mech, has like a lot of like random damage in her kit, and by random I mean like they took H-Kohaku's moves and then they randomly increased the damage of a lot of them by like either 500 or 100 or whatever, just fucking random numbers, and then oh wow, the character whose base damage is a lot higher deals a lot more damage off of random hits and has little to no executional requirements at a baseline. Wow, who could have seen that coming? Spike Ball is literally the epitome of like one button game plans in general. Like there's more to Spike Ball, and we've literally not seen a hyper optimized Spike Ball since JJ at all. As JJ was before I was playing, so that's like 5+ years ago. That guy actually optimized a bit of the Spike Ball shit, and there's been more Spike Ball optimizations that's come out since him, but we've literally never seen them in action because this character is so easy to baseline that it bores most of the top players off of her, which is a good thing, frankly. This character is stupid. Her only real weakness is that her defense is abysmal. Like she is like, again, Spike Ball kind of hyper carries the consistency of Spike. Like, the move itself hyper carries her into this tier. Like if she did not have Spike Ball, she would have middling, if not weird neutral. I'm not gonna call it bad because like you've not seen bad neutral for Kohaku yet. Like H-Kkohaku is still here. Like come on, there's it's not bad neutral. It's very weird and unorthodox, and the reward wouldn't be super high, even if she did that her stupid high damage, if not for the fact that Spike Ball was a thing that exists. Her air dash and normal dash are slower than Kohaku's, and Kohaku's movement is already not good. So the fact that she has that on top of that is kind of eh. Her buttons are weird and sometimes bugged. I believe her 2B is worse than regular H-Kkohaku 2B. I know her 2C is directly worse. It doesn't have the anti-air hitbox anymore, instead trading that for a charged version, but I don't exactly remember how the 2B is different, so forgive me for that blunder. But like Spike Ball just cheats with Spike Ball. Like a completely air unblockable projectile that's super plus on block and uninteractable for the vast majority of its startup animation is just strong enough to put you over here on the tier list. Everything else is like sort of like extra goodness. Like even if you put Spike Ball on literally any character that had decent damage off of like a ground bounce, you probably put them in A or S. Like everything else on top of that, like Kohaku in general is designed to do really strong damage off of random air hits if they are counter hit. So a character who has an air button that essentially ground bounces to simulate a counter hit is like just that strong, especially when she has such good damage. Next is C Hisui and H Led. This is probably going to be like these three are in a deadlock in my mind, and I don't know who I want to put up first. It's actually kind of difficult. I think I'm just going to talk about all three and then make the decision. To me, C Maids is not going to make it into what 11th place, primarily because like C Maids, the main thing is that C Kawaku loses her 4B and command throw, and I think C Maids loses pots and pans and all of her item tosses, right? I don't remember if she loses J6B. The main reason this character is not played is because typically she's kind of treated as C Kawaku light. I mean, there is some advantages to playing with C Maids over C Kawaku, but they kind of get stripped away when you remember that whenever you pick Maids, you take an extra 1.1 damage because it's just a unique multiplier for Maids in order to prevent them from being too strong generally across all three Maids. So the fact that she has less interactions to play with usually ends up making her far less consistent than the other two characters I'm going to talk about. Like I think the only character like other two of these, like H Len has slightly less consistent HP, but I don't think that's as big an issue for H Len as it should theoretically be, and we're going to talk about why in a second. I just think C Maids is just the least consistent of the three of these characters, and she's kind of like the in between C Kawaku and C Maids. Like she's not really potential woman or the potential team, unlike F maids, but like she's just consistent and strong, but she's just not as consistent as her two solo versions or any of the characters above her, if you ask me. Next on this tier list, we're going to put these characters are both really hard to quantify, but I think I'm going to give it to Hisui primarily due to system mechanics aiding her defense. Hisui is another character with a 4-frame jab, which combined with EX Shield does the thing that I explained earlier in the video, in which you just like EX Shield and then you get a guaranteed single hit counter hit with a jab. And her damage, while not anywhere near as high as these two in regards to that, it's respectable, and she has good tech traps. So this is probably the character in the game that has flat out the best tech traps at all. You can't really ever ground tech on Hisui without forfeiting your life and maybe and you're willing to live, I guess. Her consistency is just really good. Her back air dash is probably the best air back dash in the game, if not for C Satsuki enabling her Sandori. I think hers is like better. She has J6B, which is a semi projectile delayed hit that allows her to pretty much do a whole lot of bullshit, I guess. It's kind of hard to quantify and explain, but she's just really good at being where she needs to be. She has a projectile, probably one of the best sets of projectiles in the game if it weren't for roll orbs existing. Pots and pans, she can choose which set of pots and pans she throws, so she can cover very specific angles at a choice. Like her offense is some of the best type of Oki in the game. Her Oki is literally baby's H-Kkohaku Oki. It's just that the reward for landing it and getting it correct is like much lower than it is for H-Kkohaku doing her Oki properly. Like her Oki, like the theory behind her Oki is super duper strong, and the same theory that enables her Oki is the reason H-Kkohaku is strong. But hers is just like less explosive, but it's more consistent because she gets it off of more hits. But let's explain why she is not, any higher if for all that praise. I mean, I think I kind of explained it already. Like, whenever she gets a hit, they are annoying, but they aren't super duper impactful. Like, her throw is strong because it leads into Bento Oki, and Bento Oki leads into itself and it loops. But it's a throw. It's a 1.5 damage generally, and you can reduce it almost 100% consistently. Her strikes are not super scary to get hit by either. Like, yeah, she gets corner to corner and Oki, but again, her throw is like the Oki is just strike throw, and her throw's not super scary, and her strike is slightly worse than average. She is really good at lockdown and pressure, mind you, but it's not like most characters can go band for band with Hisui in regards to the damage front and come up fine, if not just winning. So her whole thing is that like she's consistent, but she lacks the explosiveness to push her any higher than this on the tier list, in my personal opinion. And between these two maids is Len. Also, before I go on to Len, I think I should mention that Hisui is the only other character in the game that does not move on frame 1 of their walk, and her dash is broken to compensate it. Her dash is like one of, if not the best dash in the game. Like, it's for 3-frame startup, super duper fast, moves on frame 1. I think the only other dash that is comparable is like C Scion and C V Scion. I think Hime dash is also super good, but I don't remember. It's less important on Hime as opposed to it is on these two characters with their dash 5As. Oops. So that's it. H-Len. So I spoke a little bit earlier about how H-Len used to be sort of like in the S tier in most people's tier list, where she would be super high up, but she wouldn't be cracking the top 20. In my personal opinion, she's just way more consistent than C-Maids, because like Len is weird because like theoretically she shouldn't be this high. Like she has the strongest sort of offense in the game in regards to having a fuzzy, and just fuzzing you to death is one of the better game plans you can have in Melty Blood. but like she has really poor ground movement. Her projectile is kind of meh. It's not exactly the best thing you could have. Like her projectile Oki, which is like the cat overhead, is super predictable. No one gets hit by cat Oki other than to like try to purposefully escape cat Oki. Um, like it's just theoretically not good, but her air buttons are just broken. JA, JB, JC, and J2C are just super duper strong, and the fact that they allow her to fuzzy off of most things in block string offense, like one of the things that about H Len that's super duper annoying is that she gets a lot of meter whenever she's pressuring you, and when she's pressuring you, that's usually when she's at her strongest because she is threatening a jump into a fuzzy, essentially. Like she could jump JC super early, but that's not a real thing that most people will do other than like to close around. But the real threat is that she could ID at you off of a lot of decently vantaged spots in her pressure, like after I think it's 3C, 236A. I'm not 236, like 3C, like TK, whatever, or is it 2C, TK, whatever, whatever. Point, I do, man, I studied this for an hour and I can't even remember it anymore. Point is, she's really good at getting IDs, and whenever you are blocking an ID from lane, you are guessing between a fuzzy high or a fuzzy low, and that's really strong. And she gets a lot of meter by blocks, by pressuring you, reminder. So she's usually one of the better characters, better H moons at cycling through H moon heat and using it for shenanigans. She also has throw loops, which seal burst, which is usually not a thing that ever really matters, but I think like H lens throw loops are one of the very first instances of sealing burst being sort of useful in this game. I mean, I guess C Sats also has it with her 63C, but H Slen doesn't have to spend meter in order to do this seal burst shit. So, I mean, I guess Nero doesn't have to either, but it comes up more often on H Slen than it does those two generally. Like this character's offense is just really good, and her neutral, despite her bad ground game, is also just super hard to contest with. Like it's really hard to consistently air to air this character, and anti-ing her is really hard when her JC is the way it is. Like you can anti-air her, but it's hard to position yourself in a way to anti-air her that doesn't just lose to the other shit she could be doing at that range. She's just really consistent. Like she there's a reason why people are thinking of her to be a lot better than she was. Some people are calling her a secret top sevener. I think that's a little cap. I think she's a little worse than these 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters, but 13th place ain't bad. You know? So these fuckers, okay? I think I'm going to leave one of them in S plus, and the rest are going to be demoted into S tier. We're going to define what S tier means in a second, but I think personally, the character that gets to stay is probably going to be H-Hime. H-Hime is a H-Moon and is the third H-Moon on our list, but you're going to very quickly notice that every single H-Moon above A tier is doing some hyper bullshit in order to make them not bad. H-Moon is just a really bad set of system mechanics generally. Like H-Moon didn't really come up into the picture for H Spike Ball because it doesn't really benefit her at all, so I just didn't mention it for her. I mean, like it's the main reason she's weak, but it's not like because of her defense. But I didn't really feel the need to mention it. For H-Lan, H-Moon is again a reason that she's not as strong as these characters, but generally she uses she's like most people kind of lie and they say like, oh, H-Moons can turn their offense into regaining their HP, but like H-Sun's really the only character that builds enough meter on block string offense to do that super consistently out of all the H-Moons. Like the other ones that do so are like H-Arc and like HCL, but H-Arc is not as good as these characters we're discussing right now, and HCL is like not good at all. So like she's like the best character of actually doing the H Moon thing of like, oh, I'm winning, I'm going to win harder with H Moon Burst. You don't win harder with H Moon Burst, but you do win harder with the HP recovery, if that makes sense. Okay. But Hime is like the one character, like you could make an argument that if she was Sea Moon or something with the same kit, she would probably hop up all the way here or some shit. Like top six, top five, almost definitely. But she's a H Moon, so she sits herself here. Hime's flight costing meter actually matters on H Hime as opposed to the other Himes who have lots more meter to play with generally. Um, H-Hime has the very unique mechanic of being able to cancel her 6AA on block into 2A, which is something most H-Moons can't even do on hit, so that's really, really strong. Her block string pressure is super strong because of it, but it's usually because I think it's designed that way because again, she cannot she has less meter than the other H-Himes. She has less meter than the other Himes, and she needs meter to fly. So they probably gave her that so she could contend with meter generation on block, as like similar to how H-Land does a whole lot of shit on block and gets a lot of meter for it. Her big thing is wind. 214B is one of the biggest hitboxes in the game, and it's very, very, very close to being a one button does all moves like Spike Ball. It's close. Like wind is like the majority of the reason she's here, as opposed to like most of her own boons. But like wind can only carry you so far when you still have the same weaknesses as Hime with bad defense, a slow jump arc, and this one has like worse meter troubles than your average H Moon. She really, really, really struggles to control her meter in general. I think she deserves the S plus tier because I think her highs are like really, really high, and she's consistently like she has worse. I think she has the worst 5B when it comes to anti-airing. I believe. I'm not gonna double check this because if I double check every single thing I say, this video would literally take 5 hours. But she has the better. She has the worst 5B and 2C in regards to pressure, but they're better combo buttons. So she does better Oki, if I'm remembering correctly, with wind and all that bullshit. And her wind being auto usually ends up being better than C He-Man being manual. I think she's very much on the border, and I think I'm just gonna give the S plus to her because 214B is just such a consistent and strong move that I think it deserves that distinction. Okay, next we're going to talk about S tier, and we're almost about to talk about my favorite character in Melty Blood. If you asked me to make a tier list literally like 5 months ago, I actually would have put H-Kkohaku over, I think around here, probably. Yeah, I feel like that would sort of make sense with where I put her like a couple months ago. So like 15th place. But I see her much lower now generally, but like she's still gonna be in the S tier for those of you who care about my opinion on my character. I'm going to organize the S tier now. We're going to talk about Sinania first, not because he's super high, but because he's easily the worst character here. Sinania is strong because his JC is strong, and he can like his neutral is just really, really good. He's probably one of the better characters in the cast in regards to whiff punishing because he has a really good JC and a really good 2B, but those buttons don't place themselves, and his movement is fine. He has really good defense. He's probably one of the better characters in the game when it comes to turning defense into aggression, but his Oki is mid. It is just mid, 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 mid. It is not super impressive. It is scary in the moment, but when you're looking at it like objectively, his Oki is not all that great. His Oki being not that great is pretty much the only thing that's keeping him in S tier as opposed to S plus in God tier. He has bad HP values. I think he has worse defense than Toto. He's really good at stopping aggression, but he kind of fails at delivering his own aggression. He's S tier, but because he just has good neutral and he's good at playing. Like there's not always a hope for Sinania. There's usually hope for Sinania in a game state. It's not like the best you could do, but like I think he's one of the like on the cusp of greatness characters that you could definitely perform in. I think Alice would probably put him in A, but to me, I think his consistency just puts him in S to me personally. Again, tier lists are opinionated. There are some other characters that we're going to have to talk about that I should probably move up now before I forever hold my peace. Oh, I almost forgot. Consistency Queen over there. Any other characters that I'm forgetting? Let me Uh, consistency. I'm thinking of consistency. Who goes up in S tier? Okay, I think that's all of the. Oh, well, I already said Nania was going to be the bottom of this tier. H-Kkohaku, he's A tier. He's probably the only A tier character I'm going to talk about because he's the only one that I actually give a shit about in regards to how strong he is. You could easily argue him to be in the S tier, but I think he's A tier. You know what H-Kkohaku does. If you don't, like, what the fuck are you watching this channel for? Go watch a skeleton VOD or something and watch her cook on H-Kkohaku. This character is Melty Blood's grappler and as close as you can get to grappler in this game. I've seen grappler in a stupid tone because I don't really think that it's a thing that exists in Melty Blood, but if there was one, it would be Coma. He's really, really scary and his throw is scary, but it's not actually as scary as it looks. It's easy to reduce, it doesn't deal a lot of damage, but it's he does deal good damage. Like the thing is, Coma feels like Coma like masquerades and pretends to be here, but in reality he's just A tier. Skeleton is just really good. She's really good at making you fear Coma, but like he's not that great. He has really exploitable neutral. It's just that you die when he hits you, and he's pretty decent at hitting you. Like that's it. His pressure is pretty good. His dash is like his dash is Kohaku's. Like, what if we made Kohaku dash, but we made it actually good by making it hyper low profile? Like, whoa, what a concept! And what if it carried most of its momentum in literally everything Koma did? So his dash is like weirdly better than Kohaku's, despite Kohaku having better number on her dash than his. Wow, this character is really good at dash 5ing for some reason. I wonder why. Koma's not super duper impressive, but he's good, and I think he's a good benchmark character for those characters that like Moonlight as S tiers, but just not there. Every other character in here I think deserves the S tier. There's no one I'm seeing that, like, you could argue CPCL is a S tier character. In fact, she'll just go at the bottom of the S tier because I don't think I want to argue for or against her. You could also argue Anania's one. Man, I think I'm going to stop with those characters. I don't. Oh, I forgot about SP. I think that's the last one. Look, no one fucking plays FP Sweet. I don't even know what the fuck she does. So if you want to argue about FPC, I forgot the FP Sweet to me, you can do it in the comments. I think these are all the characters I will talk about. Every character I dragged up, I will talk about it in this video that's approaching 2 hours. Yeah, and that will probably make this video 2 hours long. So let's start on this tier list for S tier. I think H-Kkohaku is a really good header for this tier, honestly. She is pretty much zoner queen in this game. Like, she actually zones with projectiles as opposed to zoning with just raw movement and buttons, but she's really, really good at doing so. Her Oki is strong too. But the thing that's holding H-Kkohaku back from being an S plus tier is that despite her neutral being super good, her Oki Zeme is not all that. Neither is her pressure. Like, H-Kkohaku has the issue that she's not all that great at turning pressure or blocking. She's really, once you get good at the game, it's really, really hard for H-Kkohaku to ever shake you on pressure. Like, you'll make mistakes versus her on pressure. You'll get hit by an overhead once or twice, and you'll get thrown a couple of times. But like, she's not all that amazing. Like, she doesn't have a fuzzy, she doesn't have like a hyper broken projectile setup. She has projectile setups, but none of them are super scary personally. She also has a bunch of like weird matchups. Like, she loses really hard to every single Kohaku. Even H-Kkohaku beats her, so she has like a couple of like sleeper weird matchups, but I think she's just generally consistent enough that she deserves the very top of S, and maybe you could argue to be the bottom of S plus. So she's going to be first in line for S. I'm going to try to breeze through this so this video is only 1 hour 50 minutes long as opposed to 2+ hours, but like, let's go through. Next character, Wara. Big Wara has made y'all niggas think that this character is bad. He's not. He's like, notice how we have not talked about H-Kkohaku yet. Wara is top of S, near the very top of S for a reason. You could argue that this is the real order. I think that H-Kkohaku is ever less consistent, so it's going to be Wara second place in S, but like, brother, this character's movement is so good. It's not even fair. Like, his buttons, excuse me, his buttons are good. His movement is literally best in class. That's all he really needs. He doesn't have amazing okizeme. His pressure is pretty mid, but like when your pressure is nearly uninteractable for most of the cast, unless you have a super big, huge shield counter and you're willing to gamble with your shield counter, um, that's really all you need. Movement in this game is super duper important, and Siwara is like the epitome of movement mattering. The fact that Siwara can place his buttons where he wants to, when he wants to, is like 90% of the reason that he's at the very top of S. Yes, his buttons can sometimes get fucked over in ways that are not describable by man and are not safe for young children's eyes, but for the most part, he's almost always capable of not being in that decision if he so chooses. He's really good at movement, and he's really good at disengaging and engaging on his own terms. He's literally the best character in regards to movement in this game. If you want a movement master that's not H-Kkohaku, you pick Siwara and you get rewarded, because this character, the better you are at movement at this game, the better Siwara is. Like, there's a reason Iwashi ran his shit in Japan with Siwara, because that character, Siwara, is really, really, really consistent at movement. People will complain about his low guts for the first half of his health bar, and then completely forget that he has super high guts for the end of his health bar. Like, brother, it doesn't matter if his first 50% is dog water, if his last 50% is hell on earth to try to remove. And this character is really, really good at not being in bad situations. His big thing that is preventing him from being an S plus is that he doesn't have broken Oki. His pressure is not really interactable for most part. His pressure is sort of like you know how FPCL's combos are super duper long and they steal time that you would be using to make a comeback or try to go back to neutral in order to win neutral so you can make a comeback? That's pretty much what Siwara is doing with his pressure. His pressure, like, he's really rarely going to ever have to throw you because it doesn't really matter. What he's trying to do is stall out the clock and win because he hit you first, because he's much better at getting that first hit, and then he tries to anger you into making bad decisions. But if you don't make bad decisions and don't gamble, you're losing time because Siwara's pressure is really long and relatively uninteractive for most of it. This character is just really good. He's top of S for a reason. He's just consistent. There's not much else to say. That's my real opinion on Wara. I don't think I've ever shared my opinion on Wara at all, because nobody ever asks, and normally when we're asking about opinions of Wara, we are memeing. So that's it. That's my opinion on Siwara, for real. Now, potential pair, aka F maids. You could argue them to be S plus. I'm going to put them here. Now, they're probably going to fall from third in S tier by the end of this, but there's a reason they're called a potential pair, bro. They have literally the best block string offense in the game, no cap, outside of Zero with orbs up. But like, the fact that's their competition tells you a lot about what these two are doing. Like, block string offense is like the kings and queens of it are Siroa, H-Len, and then it's like F Maze. These guys, they're not interacting on you with your block. As soon as they hit that 2-2C and they swap, you're in a cutscene. You know how I said FPC on CR are like pretty much just draining timer and using the timer as a resource? F Maze is like that taken to its ideological extreme. But sadly, it's F Maze, and F Maze has to play with H-Kkohaku, who is a hyper inconsistent piece of shit character that is like, if this was H-Kkohaku plus F Maze, if it was like H-Kkohaku and F Maze, this would probably be like fucking god tier. But it's F-Kkohaku is the basis of this character, and the fact they were able to take that and make it so strong says a lot about how much potential they have. They're not going to be super high on this tier list though. Like, I think this, or like these three positions, either after C Maids, after Siwara, or at the end of, like, that's their hyper potential. I'm gonna put them, like I said, Nadia would be the bottom of this tier. I think they are just going to be ever so slightly above him. But know that I hold these characters in high regard. Their neutral is decent, and they have super strong block string offense, and they're pretty damn good at making you block from all over across the screen. They can turn a lot of situations into their advantage. It's just that they're not super duper consistent, and this is a tier list valuing consistency above all else. So I'm sorry, F maids are just going to go near the bottom unless I figure out there are characters worse than them, like CL and Nadia. Okay, back to S tier. Now we have a pretty interesting four-way tie for the third best in S tier, and I'm going to tell you guys my opinions between C-Hime, H-Kkohaku, See Sion, and oh, my favorite character, the character I play, H-Kkohaku. Which characters are better? Which characters are worse? I'm going to order it right now based on what I believe. I think it's See Sion, See Sion, See Hime, H-Kkohaku, H-Kkohaku. Although personally, I think you could swap H-Kkohaku and H-Kkohaku with relative impunity. I mean, I'm going to save H-Kkohaku for last. I'm just going to put her here for a little bit of upplay, but, I mean, I guess I could upplay her by putting her S plus over here as over these characters, because I think you could make an argument that she deserves to be S plus, but I'll argue why she's not on my tier list in a second, because again, this is a tier list about consistency, and, let's not talk anymore about H-Kkohaku. Let's go into third place winner, C Sion. C Sion has the like I know we just finished talking about F Maze and how she's like blockstream offense pushed to its limits in regards to both reward and how long it goes on and how uninteractive it is. C Sion is like baby F Maze in that regard. Her blockstream offense is really, really good. Easily top 10 of the cast. Her Okizeme though is that like she has the similar issue in regards to he's not C Hisui. What was the other character up here that had really good everything but didn't have like super broken Oki? Oh yeah, same as like C Alco. Yeah, she has a similar issue to C Alco where she gets really, but unlike Alco who deals decent damage in most situations, gets no Oki. That's not all that scary, and when she does get Oki, it's not scary. C Sion has better damage, better block string offense. Like her strike is super duper scary. Her throw is kind of scary because it kind of leads into a 50-50 of high low. I mean the high is reactable, but hey, it's still there, right? So, but her thing is that she doesn't have like any stupid broken offense. She doesn't have a fuzzy. She doesn't have a projectile to set up Oki with. She's just boxing with buttons with you in the corner, and she's really, really, really good with that. But it's not enough to put you in S plus in my personal opinion. She's tied with C Hisui for one of the best runs in the game. 3-frame startup and a really good 5A +1, relatively big. Kind of hard to confirm because her 5B doesn't confirm for it. Hey, that's my like 10 minutes of Song gameplay speaking there. But generally this character has the tools. She's kind of like C Arc in the way that she has a tool for pretty much every single situation you can think of. It's just that unlike C Arc, she doesn't have like super duper broken Oki. She doesn't have a left right really outside of whip shit, and I don't think her whip shit is all that strong really. I think it's kind of gimmicky usually because you're giving up a fuck ton of damage to do it, and you'd usually much rather like just do Kya loops. Like this character is not, her combos are not exactly consistent because Kya loops start with a 2-framer. I think this is probably one of the few characters I will talk about combos in regards to consistency because I think it sort of matters for her, but generally her tools are so consistent and good. Like she has one of the best DPs in the game, 4-frame, air unblockable first hit is kind of meh, but like her first hit air unblockable is kind of big, so it works out for her. She has a good DP, amazing run, good pressure, like probably some of the best block string pressure in the game. Her big things is that she's kind of has stubby buttons and she doesn't have big Oki. Like C Arc has stubby buttons, but she has big Oki, so it doesn't really matter for her. But C Son is just really pwned by not having either or. Like you kind of want block string off. You kind of don't want just block string offense in Melty Blood. You want block string offense and bullshit Oki. And speaking of block string offense and bullshit Oki, we're going to skip over C Hime for a second to talk about H-Kkohaku. Again, she's going to be after. She's going to be the 4th place in the 3rd place tie, but like H-Kkohaku Ryder has kind of opened my eyes to this character being super duper strong. I kind of thought she would be like, I was first originally rating Aoko in my tier lists, my mental tier lists, like somewhere around here. I've kind of like pushed her up a lot because Ryder has shown me this character is really good at setting up her offense from like block string offense, which is really, really strong in this game. Who knew that being able to set up super strong situations when your opponent is blocking is really strong? Like, her neutral is much much worse than C Alco's. Generally, she doesn't have the third jump. I believe she has the second air dash, just not the third jump, which is big. But like her whole thing is that in situations where C Alco's passivity on offense is being punished, this character pulls up and she's like, "Yo, try blocking me now, bitch," and then she kills you. Like, in situations where you getting the opponent to block at all is fine, Siaku generally tends up winning. But in situations where you want them to block and fear for their fucking life, you pick H-Kkohaku and you make them sweat. Like, I think H-Kkohaku is an even-ish matchup that's in H-Kkohaku's favor solely, and it's probably the better Kohaku matchup out of all three Alcos, solely because H-Alco has enough pressure from block string offense to make H-Kkohaku scared of her. I think a lot. I think really highly of both the fuzzy and her regular offense in regards to H Alco. F Alco is not that far behind. I'm probably gonna put her here. Like, the rest of this tier is kind of fucking nebulous if we're being real honest, but I'll decide what to do with F Alco in a moment. Let's go back into C Hime. C Hime is Winbot, but like nobody plays her because her geysers are the worst of the three geysers, because for some reason they were like, oh, as a joke, we'll give them all three different geysers that have different hitboxes and spawn positions, because why not? That would be really funny, right, guys? And then they did that, and wow, well, someone had to get the worst ones. Senior has the worst geysers, and she just like, she has manually det wind, which generally doesn't fucking matter because you usually want it to be auto det. There is a single situation in which I can think of manual det being like way better. That's not just like, oh, it's better in combos. And it's like, normally Hime has an issue where she's like sitting behind a wind and then you just fucking throw her for free because she can't manually det the wind early. And because Hime's buttons are so slow that mashing is not really, encouraged to do on that character. So you just like block and you're like, oh, my opponent will psych themselves out into mashing on my block and get hit by the wind. High level players don't do that, and they simply just throw the HM every time because the risk reward in that situation is ever so weirdly in your favor. See, Hime doesn't have that situation because she can always threaten to death the wind. But like, that's a single defensive situation, usually a weird defensive, like straight from neutral situation. And considering the fact that it's a defensive situation that has the advantage, and Hime's defense is usually not good at all, it doesn't really speak all that kindly for having manual det wind. No one really plays this character. I just know that Hime players don't really like their character. Like, see, Hime players are always like, value much. My character is way worse than you on the tier list or some shit. I don't like. I think you can't go wrong with a Hime, but honestly, if you're picking C, you probably pick a different Hime. Honestly, she's still S, and I guess you could like argue her to be like in the middle of S. But I think the fact that she's a Hime, she has geyser, she has flight. I think she just has tools, and like none of them are super duper scary, but she has tools. I think this is like the least positive I'm going to be in regards to any of the S tier characters. She has tools. I just don't see this character played super often enough to form I have opinions of these two. I've played versus them for over like 500 games. I've not seen more than 100 games of Sihime. She's just here because she should be here, I think. Like, you could argue she should be higher, but like, I don't think anyone's going to argue that she should be higher. You know what? I think Smo or someone was like, "You're a fucking dumbass that you don't have H-Kkohaku over Hime. See Hime." I think I'll just honor their memory with this. Okay, so let's talk about my favorite character of all time. Okay. H-Kkohaku. Actually, wait. This is a consistency tier list, right? So he's just gonna be. See, Hime is way more fucking consistent and neutral than H-Kkohaku. So even as a joke, I can even fucking do that. This tier list that is being measured by consistency, H-Kkohaku has to take a hit. Like if we're talking raw potential, H-Kkohaku and F-Maids shoot up probably into S plus tier. In real consistency games and real games played by real players, scientists say that this character is not that good. Okay, stupid jokes aside, no more joking in regards to my character strength right now. I'm going to be real serious for the rest of this discussion. I don't want to spend too long about this because I want to make like a 30-minute video just being brutally honest about my character and the things I think she's strong in. Her lockdown is interesting because it has the highest potential of any lockdown in the game because at very close to max range, but not exactly max range 2C. H-Kkohaku is capable of shitting out obscene damage into Bateau loops. Like at near max range 2C, she can do 2C, 5C Bateau loop or 2C, 2B second hit into Bateau loop, and that usually ends up dealing 5k plus damage. H-Kkohaku's damage to the potential is just really, really high. You can usually eke out like 5k plus damage in like most situations. So her damage potential and profile is really good. She has a very consistent OTG in 63A doesn't take any meter. So she has one of the more consistent OTGs in the game, and combined with a good sweep, allows her to like very consistently pick off the 2C sweep into like a good air throw knockdown, because H-Kkohaku has one of the better air throw knockdowns of the game, because Kkohaku, Nero, and Koma are pretty much the only characters with really good, really consistent air throws. So when you combine that together, a lot of people think, oh, this character is just broken, and then you add the Bateau loop and command throw stuff, and then she's hyper broken. But the thing is, H-Kkohaku really, really struggles in neutral. I was talking really earlier, like way earlier, about H-Kkohaku having a couple of issues in neutral that kind of just get masked by the fact that her risk reward is so good that she can afford to take those risks all the time. H-Kkohaku does not have the risk reward to take those hits all the time unless you are a robot that is optimally converting everything. Like you can certainly tip the scales so that it's easier to take the risks, but you cannot offset the scale. H-Kkohaku having a 5C that auto completes a whiff is literally never ever useful, because in the situations in which the auto follow up actually hits somebody, you would have hit them if you like 5C'd, recovered, and 5'8 instead. And like the 5C follow up is not air unblockable either, so you really don't ever really care about the follow up coming out a whiff, and it's like a intentional design nerf for H-Kkohaku so that she's not as strong in neutral. It also applies to her 2B, and her 2B is one of the worst 2Bs in the game. Like, I know a lot of players say that as a joke, but no, really, look at H-Kkohaku's 2B and then look at H-Kkohaku's 2B and realize that H-Kkohaku's 2B has to autocomplete on whiff, and then be like, oh no, that button's totally fine for a 2B. No, it's easily one of the worst buttons in her kit, and she really only uses it for combo filler and block string filler. Just filler. It's a filler button that she uses because the first hit isn't even a low. I wouldn't call it one of the worst 2Bs in the game if both hits of the 2B were low. But the first one is a mid, the second one is a low. So yeah, it's one of the worst 2Bs in the game generally, and that leaves her with her jabs and 2C. But 2C has, like, people don't know this because it's one of those things that you don't really feel generally. But 2C's recovery, like the total duration of 2C, is only 2 frames faster than 5C auto follow-up. So that's how slow 2C is generally. Like typically she's not pressing it in a position that's getting it blown up, is what you're probably thinking. But no, pretty common counterplay for Kkohaku 2C is to just jump early, IED over it, because your IED will shift your hitbox up so you don't get hit by the extended red near the tip of it. That's really good at catching people who just regular jump out of pressure, and that's the annoying thing about Kkohaku 2C. Like, it catches people who are just holding up. But if you ID at it, you usually can fucking react to it whiffing and then full punch it with a counter hit combo on a crouching foe, which deals obscene damage. Like H-Kkohaku, her high is like the Oki and like the potential for her lockdown to deal massive damage, and the fact that she's a grappler doing projectile Oki that's delayed in order to allow her to pretty much do throws. Like, I'm going to go into this more in depth when I actually make the H-Kkohaku Brutal Honest Stats guide, but like her highs are really high in the corner, but she's bad enough in neutral that she kind of struggles to get you to the corner. And whenever she's in the corner herself, her defensive options are literally just the worst. She has the one of the best H-moon bunkers in the game, and that's literally all she has in regards to defense. She's really bad at controlling her own meter because she doesn't have really good EX specials other than that bunker I talked to you about just like 10 seconds ago. Her like she's often like she's not very good at controlling her meter. She's not all that great at building meter on block string offense, which is one of those things that's really important for an H moon to be viable. Like the fact that she's viable with the fact that her 5A6A is bad as it is like one of those like, oh, her Oki's really just that good and her lockdown is that good because she's able to get away with such a horrible block string offense as an H moon. Yeah, like her highs are so high that I don't really worry about rating her over most of S, but I think it's one of those things that hold her down from being an S plus character. Okay, that was like 10 minutes of H-Kkohaku blathering. I'm going to cut this video off after we hit the end of the S because my throat's starting to hurt. Give me 1 second to refresh my mic. And we're back. Next characters. We finished the 4-way tie for 3rd place, and now that means we are on to 8th, 9th, and 10th in this tier. This is where tiering gets omega fucking blurry, and it's really hard to discuss. I think H-Kkohaku is going to... Not... Why did I say H-Kkohaku? I think it's going to be... this is actually kind of hard. I think CPCL is near the bottom. This is relatively hard. What is F Maze doing here? All right, because not consistency. I think F Maze is better than these shitters though. I think okay. I think I've decided the order. It's going to be H-Kkohaku, H-Kkohaku, H-Nero. I think F-Wara deserves this. He's not super consistent. This is a consistency tier list. I think this is fine. I'm not super proud of the last few spots in this tier list, but I think it's good enough. Okay, next character we're going to talk about is F-Nero because not F-Nero, H-Nero because there's literally nothing to talk about. He has JB, he has a 5C, he doesn't have the 5C, but he has a 5C, and he has a badge steer, and he has machine gun birds. I don't think there's much to this character. He's literally here because he has narrow JB and he's capable of spreading bullshit on the screen. He's not all that great at it. His puddle is kind of mid and his hornet is like also very mid. He's just the fact that he's a narrow with JB does a lot of talking for him. His 4C is also kind of fucking weird. Like this is one of those characters I have barely any information on. I played Wem a few times, but I kind of smoke Wem hard enough that I don't get to see the bullshit in action. So I think he's just gonna stay here because this is vibes wise. I don't think he's as strong as these characters. I think he's just gonna be at the bottom. F-Wara has super high highs though. I think he's just gonna be near the bottom of these. Next we're going to talk about H-Kkohaku. H-Kkohaku to me is like the omega underrated character in Melty Blood. This character, we've talked about a couple of characters who drain the timer by doing really long bullshit animations or just doing really long bullshit blockstring pressure or combos. Like FPCL stalls the timer out with her combos. C-War stalls it with his blockstring. F Maid stall it with her blockstring. H-Kkohaku sort of does it with her grab when she does the Pato loops. But this character is like full timeout spec. She's like the best defensive character in the game, if you ask me. Like if you want to hole up into a corner and just like punish over aggression, or just like punish people who are poking a little bit too close to you, I think H-Kkohaku is the character to do it on. And I think she's really, really good at doing it. She's like the main character that treats timer as a resource because she has the most health in the game, and her offense is fine. It just takes a while to get out of the offense. She has good health. She has the best health. She has good block string offense, and she moves really slowly, so she spends a lot of time just like setting up traps and just like counter poking people. She's really hard to approach for characters with middling movement. Like her issue is that she gets like omega matchup gapped in some cases, like versus the narrows and versus characters that can fill and bullshit the screen faster than she can start to claim space. Then she just kind of gets smoked. But I think F Akia is like super duper underrated. Although part of it might be the fact that I play H-Kkohaku, who has an abysmal matchup into this character. So like maybe she's down here. But I mean, I personally think when I see Zay's F Akia and he plays it into other people, that this character is kind of fucking putting in work. As long as she's not running into her dog water matchup. So I think she's going to go here. I might have to end this sooner than I wanted to because I think people are starting to wake up in my house, which is not good. But let's go on, and maybe I'll try to do as much of this as I can and just upload the 2 hours of me yapping about multiple characters that no one cares about to the channel. Next character in the tier list is going to be F-Kkohaku. Some people would put F-Kkohaku over H. I think those people are kind of wrong. But Blue Fire Mix is one of those things that's super duper powerful in theory that never ends up doing its weight in practice. She has the overhead orb thing, which can shoot an overhead laser. Again, another thing that's super strong in theory that never ends up doing anything in practice. Maybe this is like the issue because we have super strong C and H alcos that can make me change my mind in regards to what they do in neutral. But I don't see F alcos change my mind in regards to Blue Fire Mix. Even when I get hit by it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's annoying, but it's not like this character's not like doing things that are unspeakable to me in neutral. Like brother, I can't even tell you if this character has rain or not. I've seen H, she probably has it. I've seen H Alco annoy me in neutral with rain counter poking bullshit, but I don't see Alpha Alco do it, and I don't think she has it. Yeah, this character just has, she's like hyper consistent. I think that's like the point. Like she doesn't have super, she has better block string Oki, not block string Oki. She has better Oki than the other two generally, but like H alcohol has a fuzzy and C alcohol has neutral so good that it generally doesn't matter. So F alcohol is just like easy, good, decent champ that deals good, decent damage and does good, decent things on, wait, on mix up. And I think that's all for my opinions on her. I don't have really strong opinions on her. I think she's just strong and easy and good. Nothing all that special, but she's more consistent than F Wara. Okay, F Wara is still an S tier. I know it's kind of hard to forget, but this is a character with, I mean, I know it's kind of hard to remember, but this is a character with 93, this is a game with 93 characters, so a character that's like 25th is still pretty damn good, like just in comparison. But his issue is consistency. Not being able to run is like one of those massive disadvantages. It's why C narrow and F narrow get all the bullshit that they do, but F Wara trades his ability to run for a hover dash. Like, and I know, I don't know if it's I know or Eno. Oh, my throat started to give up. I need to hurry up. Anyway, not being able to dash is a huge weakness, and FWAR does not have buttons broken enough to support not being able to dash. Like, C-Wara has omega good buttons, and the fact that he can move so well on the screen is what allows him to be such a threat at like all these distances. FWAR does not have that movement. He has a good hover dash and a good mix-up with his hover dash shape. I mean, but like, he can't move well enough to establish the threat, and he usually ends up turning into a campy, oh, I'm going to spam fireballs from half the screen away, and if you mess up, I'm going to then Oki you with a fireball into haze bullshit. But like, he's really, really hard at getting the party started and getting into his win condition, unlike the characters above him, who can like at least feasibly get into the win condition. You can argue him to be better than F-Kkohaku, but my personal opinion is that F-Kkohaku is just way, way, way more consistent than F-War will ever be. So I'm just going to put him a little lower on my personal tier list. H-Arc, I play this character, and she's like the character I've played the second most, I think. I think I have over 1,000 games on her. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter. Point is, H arc is okay. Um, she has a worse JC than C arc for whatever reason. She just generally has slightly worse versions of C arc's buttons or completely new buttons that have interesting use cases. Her JB being unclashable leads into a lot of weird situations that generally just work out into her favor. That's just a weird bug that's on a character. She doesn't have a fuzzy. She theoretically has a fuzzy, but it's not doable by humans. And even if you were to do it, the reward's not that great. If she had a fuzzy, she would easily jump up to like the top of S, but she doesn't have the fuzzy, so she's just ever so slightly consistent than FY. This character is doing a lot of mids to you. Like Sine, a good friend of mine, and the guy I talked to about multi-blood, a neutral and shit the most, other than like JG and Zay, they call her Miss Middles, and I do have to just agree. She's kind of just pressing 5A, 6A on you and hoping you crack. And it's easy to crack because the 5A, 6A is so broken and it's like +0, but it's not enough. It's not, she doesn't have like a super broken left right. She does have a left right, harmful found it, I think, or either he found it or he rediscovered it, whatever. But it's super specific and it's not all that, it's not always doable. She has really good corner carry, so that's a point for her in regards to her consistency. But like she's just okay. She's good at neutral, but she's not super duper good at offense. She like if either her throw or her strike was any better, she would easily soar up into S plus tier, but she's just not. So yeah. I don't even remember where. I know I talked about H-Kkohaku. I don't remember where I put him on this list. I'm just gonna leave him here because he's fine. HPCL. My good pal, Beatrice was the best HPCL in the States before she's kind of retired. She still plays, but she doesn't play me like ever. So I have not seen this character in hyper competent hands in a while, but I do remember when she was putting the smoke on me, and this character has pretty damn good Oki. She has like one of the best left rights in the game. If you were to ask me, it's actually harder to see than most of your typical left rights where you just know that the buttons that they're pressing will lead to a left right, and you know there's a gap because of how they press them. Like this is up there with H-Kkohaku left right in regards to how hard it is to actually spot. And she has a really good throw and really good Oki with lightning. Her neutral is also very annoying. The issue is like she has the same issues as FPCL, but they're greater exaggerated because her projectile is not as brain dead and are broken. Like she just has lower lows than FPCL, and her highs are just not as high. A lot of characters in this tier, as you probably noticed over this last 2 hours, are just highs that are not as high, but lows that are much lower. I think the only character in this tier that has like highs that are higher than their character in S plus is like H-Kkohaku, but her lows are so abysmally low that that's why she's in this tier as opposed to her highs just not being high enough. Like most of these characters are just highs just not being high enough. Like Siwara, Siaoko, and H-Kkohaku can be argued to have highs that are high enough. I just don't think they do. F maids we talked about already. Potential woman, you could put her at the very top of S, you could put her at the bottom of S plus, or you could put her in the middle of S plus. I would not argue, but in this consistency tier list, we've never seen a super consistent F maids before, so she's just going to sit here because I think that's proper with her both her results and her how she ends up usually being played. And there's the last 4 characters I need to talk about before I'm free to go play gacha again. Yep. F Scion, CCL, CPCL, and F Nania. Now this is actually going to be kind of hard for me personally because if you know me, I've barely played versus all 4 of these fucking characters. I have most games versus FPCL as opposed to the other 3. Not FPCL, F Scion as opposed to the other 3. But I think F Scion goes here. She's easily the strongest of the 4 here of the 4 characters listed here. Then I think Nania is more consistent and annoying than CL, but I think PCL has more bullshit generally, so she's staying here. CPCL is kind of hard to describe. Not having, I forget if it's the vertical or horizontal lightning. I think that says a lot in regards to how good or not good a character is whether I can fucking remember how their Oki projectile even works. Like her whole thing is just she doesn't have strong enough offense. She like HPCL you could argue to be an S plus. I just don't think she is because she's not super consistent. No one would argue CPCL to be an S plus. So she's just gonna sit here. FPCL, I keep saying PCL because I'm thinking PCL. F Scion, her whole thing is that she has ever so slightly easier Kya loops and she has whip mix-ups, but I don't think those are super duper consistent. Like again, it's like the same. It's the same effect as S plus to S, where a lot of these S characters are not bad, but their highs are a lot lower and their lows are lower as opposed to the characters that are in S plus. But instead of S plus, F Scion is having the same issue with Scion and S. Like her gimmick's not bad, but she's just not doing it as well as the OG Scion to warrant being any higher on the tier list. And with that, we can talk about F Nadia, and I can finally call it quits. How many characters did I talk about today? It doesn't matter. F Nania's whole deal is that he has double DP. His DP is way better than C Nania's. Personally, I mean, the whole thing with C9's DP is that it always gets Oki, but F9's DP is it gets a lot of damage, and the follow-up attack is invul, or it has a really weird hitbox. Like, you can OS C9's DP with 2A 5D, and it's really consistent versus even on a lot of characters because his DP is like frame 6 as opposed to the standard frame 4 or 5 DP. But F90's DP, he can hit a follow up. So if you OS with shield, if you shield counter immediately, he just counter hits your shield counter into a full combo, which is one of those weird pieces of counterplay that just randomly pops up on random characters. It's not hyper important though because generally F Nania is just like his whole thing is that he does Rekkas and he does bullshit mix up. Like he does more mix up than C, but he's generally less consistent. And again, in a consistency tier list, being able to move better, like C Nania can, is going to generally put you ever so higher than F Nania, who trades his consistent movement for dive kicks that are annoying, but they have counterplay and they're not like super oppressive even if you don't counterplay versus them. Like F9's dive kicks are weird because they're kind of like they're capable of just fucking boning you, but like you once you get good enough, they generally just don't do that unless you are like omega angry at the existence of F9 on your screen and you start getting hit by them stupidly. CCL. I don't know why I put her here. She's going to go to A with C, comma. She's the mid-tier version or almost high-tier version, I guess. I said I'd put a comma in S plus S tier, but I wouldn't put him. Like he's like very close to comma to me personally. Like she's like the third version of the character that has everything in the toolbox character. Like CRX, CCL, CRX, C-Scion, CCL. They're the same type of character to me where they have everything in their toolbox they could ever want. It's just that her highs again are much lower than the other two characters. C-Arc has amazing block string offense and Oki. C-Scion has amazing block string offense. This character just has neither. She's like a neutral queen, but she doesn't got the Oki to back it up, and that's why to me she's an A tier. Her DP being really mid does not help either. The fact that you can low profile her, you can just crouch her B DP is one of those weird things that's in the game. I kind of it's weird. I don't know why they did that to her DP. Anyway, she doesn't do anything super well enough to warrant the bump up to S, but she's really annoying. We're almost at 2 hours, so I could just end the video here. But there are two characters that looking over this tier list before I publish it, there are two characters that I think warrant a spot in S that were not discussed that I will give the S ranking to. H-Kkohaku goes in A, and he's definitely better than those two shitters, so he's going to go there. I have no idea what to think on C Tono is definitely an A tier character. C Len probably could go in the very, very bottom of S tier. F-Len, probably better than C, PCL. This is like, again, this video is almost 2 hours long. I don't really want to discuss this much longer. I'm literally only going to rank the characters that I think actually matter in competitive play. Because I played this character, H-Kkohaku gets to go on the tier list at an omega low spot. I think that's it for characters that actually matter. JG, I mean JG's the GOAT, so he gets to show up. He gets to show up on the tier list. F slots and H slots, I don't really know where I put them. They're definitely S tier characters that somehow miss the S tier memo. I think they're both like here. Like H slots is definitely here, and then F slots is probably way better than F sound, but lower than that. I mean, I could talk about them, but bro, how many characters is this? 3, 6, 9, 12. Like over 30 characters. I talked about them all. These are all the characters that really matter. Roog, I'm literally not even going to talk about Roog. Roog can be in the top of the very top of A tier. All 3 versions of Roog go here. It doesn't fucking matter. My opinion on them is that they're all fucking annoying, but they're not so annoying that they actively go into S tier. Like, they're just weird. Okay, that's it. I could continue this, but it's probably never going to be continued. This is 2 hours of me talking about Melty Blood, bro. These are my thoughts on these characters in this game. I'm going to do something far more interesting, like get a drink of water. That's it. Thank you for watching it. I don't think any of you are going to, but like, for those of you who care, here's my tier list. Everything else that's not on this tier list doesn't matter. Actually, I'll put H-Sweet there. Oh wait, I think that's it. I think I've gone through the entire list of characters that actively are worth a damn. Fuck, there's always one character that is like on the cusp of A tier that I'm always forgetting. That when I look through the list, I see and it's like, okay, if I ever feel bothered, I will finish the tier list and I'll take note of the characters that I didn't talk about and give them their own descriptions. But honestly, I think this is the tier list that actively matters. Anything not listed does not fucking matter. Cats, in my opinion, no one should go to me for my opinion on cats. My opinion on cats is this. I don't think it's a hot take or anything. No one likes cats. No one thinks they're good. This is fine. I'm done. 2 hours plus of talking about Melty Blood. I think I far and away beat Scrott's video on a tier list, and I don't think anyone else has videos on tier lists anymore. I'm done. Again, I'm gonna play Gotcha or some shit, man. I'm done. 2+ hours of talking about characters I don't even play. Someone save me.